Hello, children. This is your social science teacher Nidhi Rai, and I welcome to all of you in another class of social science. Children, we are going to start a new chapter today, and it's a quite interesting chapter and was one of my favorite. And the name of this chapter is the Mughal Empire. So before starting the chapter, I'll give you a brief introduction who were Mughals and from where they came. Chapter 7, the Mughal Empire. In this lesson, we will discuss about the reign of Akbar and Aurangzeb. Their administration and contribution to culture are also explained, and at the end, the causes for the decline of the empire are mentioned. As I've already told you, when we talk about some dynasty and empire, there will be rise, but there also will be a fall of that dynasty. So the reason which led this dynasty to the end, we will discuss in the end of this chapter. So once we are done with discussing this chapter, you will appreciate Akbar's liberal policies and his achievement. You will understand how Aurangzeb's narrow-minded policy led to riots in the country and ultimately to the decline of the dynasty. You will appreciate how the Mughal emperors enriched the fields of literature and art, and you will get to learn to mark the map historical places relating to the Mughal era. So, shall we start the chapter now? Okay. Before Mughal Empire started ruling the India, there was already an empire which was ruling the India named the Delhi Sultanate. There were five dynasties which ruled India during the Delhi Sultanate reign, and those were the Slave dynasty, the Khilji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, and the Sayyid dynasty, and the last was Lodi dynasty. Ibrahim Lodi was the last ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, and he was defeated by Babur in the Great Battle of Panipat, which happened on 21st April 1526. When we talk about the empire which were, very popular in the history of India, there were three empires in the history of India we talk about most. That was Maurya Empire, Gupta Empire, and Mughal Empire. So the founder of Maurya Empire was Chandragupta Maurya. He was a very great king, and if you remember the name of Ashoka, he was his grandson, and he was from Maurya Empire only. Then after Maurya Empire, there was Gupta Empire, and the Gupta Empire was considered as the golden age for India because the art and the literature nourished and flourished in during this empire. So the founder of Gupta Empire was Sri Gupta. Then after Gupta Empire, Mughal Empire is the another empire which is very popular in the history of India. The founder of the Mughal dynasty was Babur, and he was ruling a small region in Afghanistan called Kabul and was waiting for an opportunity to attack India, which was rich and prosperous. Taking advantage of the growing weakness of the Delhi Sultans, like I've told you about the Delhi Sultanate, the last dynasty was ruling at that time, that was Lodi dynasty. Babur invaded India and he defeated Ibrahim Lodi, the last ruler of Lodi dynasty, in the Battle of Panipat, the first Battle of Panipat, and ended the reign of Delhi Sultanate. And that's how Mughal Empire took the reign in their hands. But he could not stop at that because the Rajputs and the Afghans resisted him strongly. The brave warrior that he was, with his powerful weapons, forced the opposing armies to retreat. There's another interesting fact about Babur is that this race belonged to the Mongol race, and the Mughal word came from Mongol. and the rose flower was introduced by Babur. Soon Babur conquered Delhi, Agra, and the surrounding areas and established his kingdom. But he died soon, and his son Humayun ascended the throne. Children, before we go too deep in this chapter, I would like to tell you about the emperors who ruled during the reign of Mughal dynasties. So, naturally, Babur was the one who founded this dynasty, and then there was Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, and the last ruler of this dynasty was Bahadur Shah. These all emperors were popular and their name has been written down in the history of India for their work and their contribution, and some for their talent ruling in India. We'll discuss about Akbar and Aurangzeb's ruling criteria because Akbar was a very great and tolerant king when we talk about the tolerancy power, but Aurangzeb was quite opposite of the other rulers who ruled during the reign of Mughal dynasty. Alright, so we'll start with Humayun. So when Babur died, his son Humayun ascended the throne, and though he managed to overpower his enemies in the beginning, he had to face defeat at the hands of the Afghan chieftain Sher Shah Suri. Having lost his kingdom, he fled to Persia and stayed there for 15 years. When the Afghan rule in India weakened, Humayun invaded India and conquered Delhi. However, he died within a short period thereafter. So when Humayun died, Humayun's son Akbar had always aspired to build a vast empire in India. With this intention, he tried to persuade the mighty Rajput kings to support him. Some among them joined hands with him, but Maharana Pratap Singh Sisodia of Mewar opposed Akbar. He was a proud and brave warrior. Later, a fierce battle happened between Maharana Pratap and Akbar, which is also known as Battle of Haldi Ghati. This battle was fought between Maharana Pratap and the army which was led by Man Singh. Though Maharana Pratap was defeated in the battle, he did not bow down to Akbar. Thereafter, Akbar engaged himself actively in military campaigns for many years. As a result, he conquered Gujarat, Bengal, Kashmir, Kabul, and other areas and built a vast empire. Children, we will discuss about the Akbar's achievement. First, we'll discuss about the administration system, then religious policy, and then his patronage to arts. So, Akbar was an able administrator and a broad minded ruler. He possessed many of the qualities needed for a great king. He was not a despotic ruler. A despotic ruler is someone who doesn't think about the welfare of his people, who just think about himself. So he wasn't a despotic ruler. He realized that in order to preserve his vast empire, it was necessary to win the trust of his Hindu subjects who formed the majority. Instead of going in a war with them, he took the other way and bought peace within the land of India. He appointed Hindus to high posts in his courts and he withdrew the personal tax called jizya tax. Children, jizya tax is a tax which was collected by the Muslim ruler in the form of financial charge for those people who weren't who didn't themselves in Muslims. Change inside they convert themselves. When Muslim rulers started India, they forced people to convert themselves in Muslim, mostly the non-Muslims. So when they didn't do it, they started this policy named jizya tax, and he started charging money for it for particularly those people who didn't convert themselves in Muslim. It was started by Ahmad Shah actually. So Akbar abolished the jizya tax, not like other rulers. Akbar thought of Indian subcontinent as his homeland. And then he also removed pilgrimage tax. It was a tax which was imposed on Hindus by the Muslim emperors for undertaking a journey to a religious or sacred place. Suppose some non-Muslim, if they wanted to, some non-Muslim means Hindu people, if they wanted to visit some religious place, they had to pay the money or the fee for it, for just visiting that place. That was known as pilgrimage tax. So Akbar withdrew two taxes which used to be collected by Muslim rulers. Those were jizya tax and pilgrimage tax. Akbar's land revenue policy was well received by the people, and it was framed by his revenue minister Raja Toramal, who was the finance minister of Mughal Empire during Emperor Akbar's reign. Religious policy of Akbar. Akbar was tolerant of other religions. Tolerance means he respected all the religions. He constructed a prayer hall known as Ibadat Khana in his new capital, Fatehpur Sikri, where he discussed religious matters with the leaders of various Islamic sects. Sect is called a religious body or a group of people who believed in a particular faith or particular religion structure. He also invited Hindu, Jain, Buddhist, Parsi, and Christian leaders to discuss their views on religious issues. So, for the point of view for having a broad mind, he just not went to his court and asked his own people for their point of view in religious matters. He also called out to the other leaders, the leaders of the other community, to get their point of view on the same matter. So, as a result of such discussions, he evolved a new sect called the Dine Ilahi. A sect, like I said, is a religious body or a group of people who believed in a particular religious structure, and this new sect, which was evolved by Akbar, was known as Dine Ilahi, means oneness of God or divine faith. It incorporated some of the best principles of different religions. However, it could attract only a handful of followers. Patronage to art. Patronage means the support given by a patron. So Akbar patronized literature and art. Abul Rahim Khanegana, Birbal, Faizi were the distinguished poets in his court, and the immortal singer Tansen adorned his court. Akbar's contribution to architecture and painting are also remarkable. Jahangir, who was the son of Akbar, was the fourth Mughal emperor, and Shah Jahan was the son of Jahangir and was the fifth Mughal emperor. They both succeeded Akbar to the throne, and continued his policies to a great extent. Shah Jahan achieved fame by getting the famous Taj Mahal built at Agra, the Mammoth Red Fort at Delhi, and other stately palaces. Aurangzeb. Shah Jahan's son Aurangzeb is last well-known Mughal emperor. He ruled for a long period of 50 years, and during this period the empire expanded in all directions. But in the end it declined rapidly. Aurangzeb's religious policy. So when we talk about the religious policy of Aurangzeb, he was an Orthodox Muslim who strictly followed his religion. He stayed away from drinking wine, gambling, entertainment, and music because all these things are not allowed if you are a particular Orthodox Muslim. They are kind of banned in Muslim community. And he lived a simple life. But he was a tyrant ruler. He gave up the liberal policy of Akbar. Like when we started this class, I told you that Akbar was a tolerant king. He respected all the religions. On the other hand, Aurangzeb was quite opposite of Akbar was. He didn't believe in equality and sought himself as a superior among all the community. And he also reimposed the jizya tax, which used to be collected by the Muslim ruler from the non-Muslim people who didn't convert themselves into Muslim. So this tax was abolished by Akbar, but Aurangzeb again reimposed this tax, which led to many political rebellions. So how many people rebelled against his ruling system? What was their consequences? How this dynasty declined? All these things we'll discuss in the next class. So children, we'll just have a recapitulation. What did we discuss today? That is, we start with the foundation of Mughal dynasty. It was founded by Babur. Then his son Humayun ascended the throne and was defeated by Sher Shah Suri, who was an Afghan chieftain, and stayed in Persia for 15 years. And then again he came back to India when the Afghani rule was weakened. And again he continued the Mughal dynasty in India. Then his son Akbar the Great, he ascended the throne and respected all the religions. He demolished two laws which was not in the favor of equality kinda, because he respected all the religion, and the jizya tax and the pilgrimage tax were against the Hindu people's opinion, and he brought harmony between all the communities. Then we discussed about Aurangzeb and his religious policy. Rest of the thing we'll discuss in the next class. Thank you for listening, children. Take care. Bye bye.